Well, all right. Welcome to part 3. You're doing fantastic. We're enjoying ourselves. We're taking a little break from the legs in this particular 3-part training session with each other, and we're focusing on our upper body and our punches and upper extremity strikes. Excuse me. So, the fundamental, the core of it was we were doing 3 punches, doubling up on 3 punches, the jab, the hook, and the uppercut. We should be doing them for both sides, switching stances, also keeping in the same stance, and also reversing it as well. So we could start low, high on each one. Low jab, high jab. Low hook, high hook. Low uppercut, high uppercut. And to continue our recap, let's see if I can keep this rolling. We worked with 4 different positions for leverage and to use or to have when throwing the punch and stuff. The first one is just maintaining the stance, point being not taking any kind of step. We maintain the stance when we throw the punch. The second one is we take a step to give us the leverage or the angle to throw the punch. The third one is we take the step, but we don't throw any punches until we retreat, until we recline, retract, and draw the foot back. Okay, then we punch during the drawback. And the fourth one is we punch during a leap, or we leap into our leverage or angle and throw the punch. Right? So not hard to see what I'm doing right here. I'm showing you different motions and movements and stuff like that. And don't worry, I'll give you a slow-mo on that. Okay, so there's there's 3 ultimate ways that you can do that. 3 fundamental ways that you can change your stances and do your stepping and changing your stances and stuff. Okay, one is to just do a complete change. So whatever step you take to change your step, okay, the change is going to happen on one step. So let's say your rear foot, okay, just goes completely straight to the front, okay, nothing in between, and you are now have switched your stance on the one. The second one is like a 3-part or whatever. So you're starting at the rear foot is at the back. The rear foot meets the middle. Okay, then the rear foot moves forward. Why is that advantageous, or why might you do that sometimes? Because when you're taking a complete step forward to change your stance, you could get caught in between that and stuff. So what you're doing is you're minimizing the amount of time at any given moment where you're in between or in transition or don't have a balance and stuff. So for example, okay, let's say you took the rear and you brought it to the middle, but then you changed your mind and then took that same foot from the rear and then brought it back, right? All right, so I'm just having fun right there, right? This whole rotation twist into a stance, that is an example, or that falls under the category of the first movement I explained, which is changing your stance in one motion, in one set of motions, or whatever motions and is involved in it. It all happens in one thing. So there is no two-stepping, no half-stepping, yo. Right. Okay. And I think there's a whole bunch more. I just wanted to touch on some of the fundamental ones. And I think the third one, or at least I might throw in the third one, is, so let's say you take your rear and you bring it to the middle, so you're meeting your lead foot, the forward foot, okay? But then instead of taking that same rear now and continuing it forward, you keep that rear foot that's now in the middle where it is, and take that other foot that was once the lead that is now next to your rear and move that and stuff. You understand? It's not rocket science and stuff like that. You'll be able to see it when I show it. All right, and we worked on a whole bunch of other stuff as well, so we're just touching on that stuff. The whole point right now is I want us to make sure we have a good feel and just to get in some reps of motion and being able to move, being able to sidestepping and moving and encircling, circling, counterclockwise, clockwise, rotating. All of those things can happen through like large sweeping steps, through leaps, glides, shuffles, mini steps. Right here we're showing you the mini steps. The mini steps are probably one of the most classic, okay? And if you can't figure it out or you can't see one of the highlights of or the benefits of it, it's at any given moment you're minimizing the amount of time that you're out of position, out of leverage, minimizing the amount of time that your feet are not on the ground and stuff. When your feet are not on the ground, you have the least amount of leverage. I mean, unless, of course, you're not on the ground because you're leaping forward into some kind of massive momentum. So you have leverage on that plane, but you lose leverage on other angles and stuff. So if somebody sidestepped you as you had a massive leap forward and then pushed you during your mid-leap, okay, you'll go flying as well as the flying that you're doing. You know, yada, 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 physics. Because physics. Right. So, but really, I can't stress this enough. Keeping true to my word, true to this whole process of being transparent and sharing with you and stuff like that. Okay, honestly, in the past and even right now, there are times when I spend a whole hour, a whole session, just doing those small half steps in everything that I do. Look, we're all kind of time poor. Most of us are. It's a privilege to be able to do this stuff full time as a profession and stuff like that. I can't. I don't. So yeah. So, and you'll see, and that's really cool. So so what I usually do when I do sessions of all those little half steps, those baby steps to everything I do, I'm also working my calves. I'm working leg muscles. I do my leg training and targeting some leg muscles. I'll incorporate it then and stuff. And I'll do a whole bunch of other drills too. So that's pretty cool. It inspires me to kind of possibly do a little video on that and show you how multitasking, man, because, you know, very few of us have the privilege to spend an entire hour just practicing punching and stuff. So you got to incorporate a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So you want to get some of your core in there. So when you're throwing your punches, make sure you're doing a lot of bobbing and weaving, a lot of clenching, a lot of dipping and stuff like that. And you'll find you're working your core heaps and stuff. You know, like that whole jump rope, you see what you're doing when you're jumping rope, you see how the same boxers and everything we do with the shuffle, well, there you go. You see, you can shuffle on the balls of your feet, you can shuffle flat foot as much as possible, on the heels, everything will give you a little bit of a difference, but that's also going to work your calves, all right, and that might also work those other muscles in your legs as well, what, the quads and, you know, and, all that good stuff. I've always gone for some kind of marathon ability, and I've also understood, because the nature of combat and especially like a martial art where you're having all of these harsh shocks and loading forces on your joints and ligaments and stuff. So in the past I've done a lot of training on my joints and ligaments, and so yeah, so I've done a lot of knee stuff for that. All right, so remember I mentioned before about retreating and how you can still turn a retreat or a retreating motion to your advantage, still to leverage? Well, there you go. Well, you see it's a snapping into it. So you see how I'm showing you that snapping, that rotation, that twist rotation force, okay? And you can see how that twisting force, you see how it's like a combination, or it's your choice, but it's involving some kind of percentage of 90 degree, like going laterally from your line of attack or center line, okay, to also jumping into a range where you're sort of retreating as well, drawing back as well. You can utilize that as to your advantage and stuff. So it's almost like you're cuffing your opponent, but also snapping back. So you're taking all of that force and you're striking them. But instead of some punches that try to drive through the opponent, other punches snap, other punches cuff and stuff. And if you're very clever and keen about that stuff, there are different effects and damages that you can do with different punches. And if you're very advanced and stuff, different punches can cultivate, can lead your opponent, can cause your opponent to respond in different ways. I'll keep it very simple because I don't want to get too far off of what I'm doing, in the video and stuff. But for example, a driving punch, okay, is not going to encourage your opponent to come toward you. All right, keeping it very simple. A driving punch is going to, okay, at the very least, or in a simple sense, the effect of a driving punch is to smash your opponent, and so it drives and pushes them away from you and stuff. So think about it. The driving punch, okay, can create distance for you and stuff. Other punches, cuffing punches, hooking punches might lead your opponent toward you, especially if you can, sidestep or rotate sort of to the side and cuff a punch toward your opponent. Okay, you're driving them away to the other side, away from the punch. Okay, and if you do it in just a certain way, you might be able to not only drive them away, but drive them into you. What might be waiting when you drive them into you? The uppercut. All right, so remember that mixing and matching? Right, so now we're mixing and matching our sidestepping and stuff, but we're not doing all three of our punches in that three-punch drill, the jab, hook, and uppercut all at once, but we're mixing and matching. And sometimes you will do them all at once and stuff. And hopefully what I'm doing is I'm giving you a foundation for you to create a workout session for yourself and stuff. And it may seem simpler than it sounds and stuff, and it may all sound great when you're sitting in a chair and you're watching, or you're just saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, but then when you're actually out there training and working out, you may get the first few things that you remember, but then you're like, oh yeah, all right, well, what do I do next? So yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that too, fine. So sit there and just figure out like the next thing you're going to do. There are no right or wrongs to what you're going to do and stuff, but here you can see how you can actually build a session for yourself, and you can actually, work on things and stuff, and you can set yourself up for success, and you can set yourself up to explore and unfold and discover things. Wow, this sounds ultra positive, right, man? Violence has never been so positive, but this isn't just violence, is it? Short range, okay? See what I'm doing? I'm showing you short range. Now, short range, you can still treat them as striking drills, but also, if you see, there's you see a little thing that's happening there as well. It's not just a strike, and you can almost say, is he really actually throwing a short range strike as well? Or is like, what is that and stuff? Okay, what I'm allowing is, I'm allowing the sort of motion, sort of simulation of the strike, okay, to help me set off, okay, the rotation, the body rotation, the torque that happens, the twisting and rotations that happen within the body and stuff. So that's what's really you can do with those short stuff. So the point being is, let's say you want to practice the rotations and stuff, the torque within your body, but the point is you don't actually want to throw the punch, you want to just practice those rotations. So kind of throwing the punch, initiating or at least starting it, helps you to unlock, helps you to trigger, to set off the rotation in your body. All right, so having a fantastic time, hopefully, right? Hopefully covering some bases and giving you some interesting perspectives and stuff like that, right? Go Going slow, right? Going slow, feeling it. What's the point here? The point is, in this particular one, what was I thinking for myself? I want to make sure I'm not doing any fancy snapping rotations with my fist. There are times and places for that. There are certainly effects and benefits to that, right? But what I want to do is I want to catch myself, and I want to make sure that I also have times when my punches or the fist position is quite linear, right? So it doesn't do all this extra fancy stuff. So I want to make sure, I want to feel that, I want to see that, I want to see that my fist rotates, I want to see that it finishes its rotation, and I want to see how much I rotated. You know, did I complete the rotation? Am I cheating? Is there something wrong? Am I stopping at 90 degrees, at 60 degrees, but not completing the 90? And the same thing can be said for your shoulders. The same thing can be said for your waist. Also your head. Man, at any given moment, keep that in mind as well. Make sure that you're not slowly rising your head up too much. You don't want to have your head dangling out there like it's like a beacon of a shining chin. And just saying, here, man, aim for this. I mean, although there are certainly ways to bait your opponent into that, okay? Generally speaking, at any given moment, you want to guard that chin. Tuck that chin in, keep it down at least. It's a good way to naturally protect your neck, and it's a good way so that you don't take a perfect shot to your chin. What happens when you take a perfect shot to your chin? It creates the perfect opposite end of the range. Imagine you put a line segment through your head. Okay, so you get hit and you go, and the bottom goes left and the top goes right, and it's the perfect torque, and your brain smacks against the skull, and that's one surefire way to get knocked out. All right, so now we're just getting to the end, and I don't have a method to my madness. Ultimately, I'm keeping true to the whole point here and stuff, and I'm just letting things unfold and develop. So what was developing and stuff? As I was practicing my talks and my rotations, as I was paying attention to the plane of my limbs and stuff, my fists, wrists, and forearms, and things like that, and I was probably, I'm walking you right through this, and I was thinking to myself, okay, am I doing the chicken wing? Am I flailing too much? Is my elbows and my punches, am I keeping them tight, tucked in enough so that they can easily guard my ribs and things like that? And as I was thinking of all of those things, I said, oh yeah, okay, so the same way I didn't truly throw a punch in order to practice the talk, I said, all right, well, I'm not going to throw a punch again, okay, I'm going to use this to try to get the hooks. But you see how the hooks behave like punches thrown? That's a really cool way to keep it simplified and stuff like that. Don't say to yourself, oh, the elbow, I'm sorry, did I say hooks? Don't say to yourself the elbows is a completely different strike. Not necessarily. Okay, you can treat the elbow the same, in a lot of the same ways as you're throwing a punch. It's not something completely different in the whole world in and of itself and stuff like that. It can follow a lot of the same rules and stuff, except that you're keeping in mind you're not striking, or you're not finishing, or you're not landing with the elbow. With the fist, you're landing with the elbow and stuff. All right, so that brings us to an end, and hopefully you had a good time, and I'll see everyone soon. Cheers.